welcome back to our class. Last week we did some activities. So I hope you understood our lesson about separation techniques. So for this week, we're going to have a test tomorrow. Okay, so for today, we're going to review. Okay, let's review the vocabulary words that we've studied so far. So we have separation technique, mixture, pure substance or properties, solid, sifting, sieve, hand picking, sublimation, magnet attraction, alloy, and electromagnet. Okay, and then for the second part, we have decantation, pour out, insoluble, soluble, filter, filter paper, filtration, residue, filtrates, sewage, precipitation, alum, and evaporation. Okay, so I hope you'll be familiar with this vocabulary word. So when you do the test, it's easy. Okay, so let's go back to your student book. Okay, so we're back. Student book, separation techniques. I hope you're already familiar because we already did the activities. Okay, we already demonstrated these techniques. Okay, so at the end of the chapter, we should be able to describe ways to separate solids, describe ways to separate insoluble solid from a liquid, and separate a soluble solid from a liquid. We already did all of this. So why do we separate mixtures? I hope you understand already, because we want to get the materials or the substances separated from the substances that we don't need. Okay, and then sometimes we filter or we separate contaminants to remove contaminants from the water. Okay, how do we separate solids? We can do hand picking, we can also do sifting, and we can also do sublimation and using magnets. Okay, so these are the techniques that we do to separate solids. We already had a test about separating solids, so it's not going to be included in your test anymore. So we're just going to include just going to include this part. Okay, so how do we separate insoluble solids from liquid and soluble solids from liquid? Okay, so this one is decantation. This is when you pour out the liquid. And then we also do filtration. Okay, filtration, you have to be familiar with residue and filtrate. Okay, sewage treatment is an example of using filter or filtration. Surgical mask can filter the dust from the gas. And then coffee filter can separate the coffee grounds from the coffee. Okay, and precipitation. Okay, precipitation is a technique when we add alum, okay, to make the small particles clump together so that it's easier to remove. Okay, and then we also studied about evaporation. This is the process when we let the water evaporate or the liquid evaporate, and then you will be left with the solid. Okay, so last week we already 2 weeks ago we already answered this part. Okay, and then okay, so for today, as a review, I want you to answer your student book, page 42. Okay, you answer by yourself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 items, you have 8 choices. Okay, you have 5 items, you have 8 choices. Okay, so you look for the meaning of these vocabulary words and then you try to answer. Okay, number 1 is a suitable method to separate table salt dissolved in water. What are you going to use to separate salt from water? Okay, and then number 2, we can use blank to remove fine particles in dirty water. What can we use to separate fine particles in dirty water. Letters number 3, surgical mask act as a blank to keep out the dust particles. The mask act as a what? And number 4, can be used to separate mixture that contains solid substance that turns directly into gas when heated. Okay, solid substance turns into gas. Solid turns into gas. What process is that? And number 5, we can use a blank to separate a mixture of silver and iron fillings. Okay, how are you going to separate silver and iron fillings? Okay, so this is your homework, and then I will give you another homework in your workbook. So let's go to your workbook. Okay, so go to your workbook, page 14. Okay, so this is a review. It's gonna be long, but if you're going to listen and study, then tomorrow the test will be easy for you. Okay, so let's answer all together these objective questions. Okay, so number 1, we can use a sieve to separate a mixture of. Sieve is used in sifting. Okay, so letter A, red buttons and blue buttons. You cannot separate red and blue buttons using a sieve because they are the same size. They are just of different color. So letter B, sand and pebbles. This one you can separate. Sand is smaller than pebbles. So the answer for number 1 is letter B. Okay, number 2, sublimation occurs when. Sublimation is the process when a solid turns directly into gas. Okay, so the answer for number 2 is letter A. Okay, let's go. Number 3, which of the following undergoes sublimation? Oh, there's an answer already. Which of the following undergoes sublimation? We have iodine. Okay, number 4, which of the following metal is non-magnetic? Okay, silver. Silver is non-magnetic. Okay, and an alloy is not formed by mixing. So when you say alloy, it's a mixture of metal with non-metal, okay, or different metals. So this one, the metal and non-metal, this is an alloy. Different metals, this is an alloy. But letter C, 2 different non-metal. Okay, so the answer is letter C. And next, why is it showing the answer already? Number 6, Phi wants to separate a mixture of candies as shown below. Okay, so if you have a mixture of candies, you can do picking them out by hand. So the answer is letter C. Oh, why is it showing the answer? Number 7, a common chemical used to precipitate contaminants in water is alum. Okay, precipitation is alum. You use alum. And number 8, which of the following statements about evaporation is true? Letter A, evaporation happens faster at higher temperature. Okay, so if you add heat to the process of evaporation, it will become faster. So letter A is true. Okay, number 9, red ruby is common dessert in Thailand. It's a common dessert in Thailand. So the question is, Mint has a bowl of red rubies and coconut milk. She wants only the red rubies in the dessert. Which method can she use? She only wants the red rubies. She doesn't like the liquid. She doesn't like the coconut milk. So what can she do? Letter A, pour the dessert through a sieve. Put it in the sieve. Letter B, pour out the coconut milk. You can pour out the coconut milk and carry out filtration. You can do filtration. You use filter paper. So the answer is letter D, all of the above. Okay? Number 10, the steps of water purification process are shown below. Which step involves the precipitation technique? Okay, actually you don't have to read all of it. It's just you have to look for the precipitation technique. So when you talk about precipitation, you talked about putting alum on the solution. Okay, so if you go through this is the correct answer. solid particles in the water clump together after alum is added. Okay, so this is precipitation, letter A. And number 11, Ben wants to dissolve a sugar cube in water. What can he do to make the sugar dissolve faster? If you want sugar to dissolve faster, what are the things that you can do? Okay, you can stir the mixture. So when you stir, you make the the sugar to dissolve faster. Okay, so A is correct. If you add ice to the mixture, no, because it will be cold, right? So you have to heat the mixture to make the dissolution faster, letter C. Okay. Okay, so this part is your homework, page 17. Okay, page 17 and 18, you are going to answer by yourself. Number 12, Ning accidentally dropped some iron nails in a bag of coffee powder. What can Ning do to remove the iron nails from the bag of coffee powder? Okay, so she accidentally dropped iron nails into coffee powder. So if you want to separate iron nails, what are you going to do? You have two correct answers, okay? And this one you're going to answer by yourself too. Okay, number 13, Phi has a bottle filled with oil, water, gravel, and steel paper clips. So you have a mixture, okay? You have a mixture of more than two substances. You have oil, water, gravel, and steel particles, okay? Gravel is like small rocks, okay? So you have oil, water, gravel, and steel. Letter A, what can he do to separate the solids from the liquid? So what process are you going to do if you want to separate the solids from the liquid? Okay, and then what can he do to separate oil and water? What can he do to separate the oil from water? And letter C, what can he do to separate the steel paper clips from the gravel? Okay, so if you have a mixture of many substances, you have steps on how are you going to separate them, okay? And the number 14, Mint collects a sample of seawater from a beach. She wants to get salt from the seawater, okay? She has this sample, okay? She has sand, seawater, plastic bottle, candy wrapper, seaweed, and straw. Okay, so letter A, Mint uses her hands to pick and separate some items from the seawater sample. Which items can be separated through this method? When you only use your hands or hand picking, what items from here can you separate? Okay, so you write the items that you can separate through hand picking. Okay, and letter B, what can Mint do to get salt from the seawater sample after the items stated in A are removed? Okay, so what can you do after you remove those that you can remove by hand? How are you going to get the salt from the seawater? Okay, so you write your steps here. Okay, so this is it for today. You have to answer your student book page 42 and your workbook page 17 and 18. Okay, this is a review. For tomorrow we're going to have a test. Okay, bye.